Yadai, 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 Hineni, here I am. Hineni, here I am. Tzur Yisrael Kuma, Bezrat Yisrael Kuma, Uftechinu Mecha Yehuda Yisrael, Tzur Yisrael Kuma, Goalenu Adonai Tzvaot Shemot, Kedosh, 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 Yisrael, Tzur Yisrael Kuma, Bezrat Yisrael Kuma, Uftechinu Mecha Yehuda Yisrael, Tzur Yisrael Kuma, Goalenu Adonai Tzvaot Shemot, Kedosh, 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 Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarech shalom ובורא את הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא חושך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. יוצר אור ובורא חושך, עושה שלום ובורא חושך. עושה שלום ובורא את החושך, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. ואני אשיר עוזך, וארנן הבוקר חסדך, כי היית משגב לי ומנוס ביום צר לי. ואני אשיר עוזך, וארנן הבוקר חסדך, כי היית משגב לי ומנוס ביום צר לי. ואני אשיר עוזך, וארנן לבוקר חסדך, כי היית משגב לי ומנוס ביום צר לי.
Shana Tovah, everyone that is here, thank God. Shana Tovah, everyone who is live streaming and davening from all places throughout the Raleigh or out the area. So glad we can be together in our topsy-turvy Rosh Hashanah experience here at Beth Meyer. no matter what happens, this is such a sign and a symbol of our resilience, our ability to daven and to pray, to study Torah, to work on our repentance journey, our tshuva journeys ourselves. In a way, it doesn't matter. It's not limited by location or tradition per se and exactly doing it the way we did it last year. Ultimately, it's about each of us embracing this opportunity, even under challenging circumstances, to find a way to celebrate the new year, to celebrate and be grateful for life, and to be here together in every way to be together. And also the chance to do that work, the work we need to do ourselves, forgiveness, chance for renewal, chance to recalibrate. Tshuva is about recentering. Where do we want to be? And to get that time, sacred time to do it together. So as you all at this point know, we're going to be doing something a little bit topsy-turvy. We're going to begin our davening here at 10 o'clock with the Torah service, and then we'll go back later to go through some of the davening and sermon and things of that nature. So at this point, we're going to turn to page 96, and we're going to begin the Torah service for Shachri, to the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein k'maasecha, malchutecha, malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch leolam vaed, Adonai oz lamo yitem, Adonai varech et amo v'shalom, ha'arahamim, heitiv v'retzoncha, et Zion, Tivnei Homod Yerushalayim, Kiveha levad v'tagnu, Melech Eram v'nisa Adon. Please rise. Vayehi binso Aaron, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, v'yavutzu oyevecha, v'yanusu misanecha, mipanecha, ki v'tzion tetzeh Torah, ki v'tzion tetzeh Torah, Odevar Adonai, ve'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah le'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. Adonai, Adonai, El Rahum ve'Hanun, Erech Abayim, Erav Chesed ve'emet, Notzer Chesed le'alavim, Notzer avon v'fesha, ve'rada v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rahum ve'Hanun, Erech Abayim, Erav Chesed ve'emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Notzer avon v'fesha, v'chata'a v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rahum ve'Hanun, Erech Abayim, Erav Chesed ve'emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Notzer avon v'fesha, v'rada Venake, page 98. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'nora Shemo, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu. We turn around towards the ark. Take a slight bow with me. Gadlu Adonai iti, oneram ema shemo yata, leha Adonai agedola ve'agevura, tatiferes de'aneta ve'ahor, kichol b'shamayim uva, Aretz kichol b'shamayim uvar, lecha Adonai hamamlacha, v'yaves na'aseh lechol. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu adom raglav, kadosh hu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lahar kodshu, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Shikach, everyone may be seated. So, Chevre, Shana Tovah. Good to see everyone. We are here going to be reading from the Torah reading for the second day of Rosh Hashanah. You can follow along in your Machzorim on page 103, chapter 22, verse 1, the famous Akedah story of Abraham nearly sacrificing his son Isaac and all of its deep, profound messages that are within it. For our first Aliyah, chapter 22, verse 1, page 103. For first Aliyah, we call Alan and Ben Bowie King, or just Alan? Okay, Alan, good to see Alan and Ben Bowie. Vayazor v'agim sh'yosim v'no v'nomar amein hakol havu godol le'Eloheinu kavod laTorah. Yamod Natan ben Avraham l'Aliyah Rishona Baruch Shatan Torah Musaf b'Kedushato v'atem advikim Adonai Elohechem chayim hayom.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bacha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vahi achar hadvarim ha'eleh v'ha Elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer lahav Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer Kach na'ah et binach et yechidecha asher ahavta et Yitzhak v'lech lecha al aretz hamarim hava halehu sham leha el lech lecha al echad haharim asher amar Elech lecha vayashkem Avraham babohu ker vayahavohu shetamarohu vayikach et shnei ne'arav itohu ve'et Yitzhak benohu vayavakah atzehi olav Vayahakom vayelech el hamakom asher amar lohu ha-Elohim.
Shekoyach, Susan. Kol hakavod.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekoyach, Shana Tovah. Good to see you. Shana Tovah. So, we now continue this powerful story, 2nd Aliyah, verse 4, page 104. Invite Phil and Heather Weinstein to come forward. Yamdu Fishole ben Belachel v'Moshe ber Kohen v'Rivka Leah bat El Karachel v'Yisrael Hirsch Halevi l'Aliyah Shenit.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Bayom hashlishi, Avraham et einav, vayaret hamakom merachok. Vayomer Avraham el nerav, shvil lachem po imachamor, va'ani v'nar necha adko, v'nishtachaveh v'noshuv aleichem. Vayikach Avraham et atzei halah, vayosem al Yitzchak beno, vayikach biado et ha'esh v'et ha'macheled, vayelchu shnehem yachdav. Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, vayomer aviv, vayomer hineni v'ni, vayomer hinei ha'esh v'ha'etzim v'yayeh hasel le'olam. Vayomer Avraham Elohim Yireh hasel le'olam b'ni, vayelchu shnehem yavdav.
Shkochech.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekoch. Kol hakavod. Beautifully done. Tovah, our 3rd Aliyah. Sure. Our 3rd Aliyah is on verse 9, page 104. Continue with the story as they're making their way up the mountain. Yamod. Come on, Keith. Anasi. What's your Hebrew name, Keith? Tell me again. Avram Chaim ben.
Chaim Pinchas.
Chaim Pinchas. Aliyah Shlishit.
The pomegranate didn't work for me.
Vayovo makom. Okay. Yachdav.
Vayavo is where I'm looking at.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Nevarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayavo el hamakom asher amar lo Elohim, vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach, vayaroch et ha'etzim, vayakach Vayakod et Yitzchak beno, Vayasem oto al hamizbeach, mihimaloitzim. Vayishlach Avraham et yado, Vayikach et hamachelet, lishchot et beno. Vayikra elav, Malach Adonai min hashamayim, Vayomer Avraham, Vayomer ineni, Vayomer al tishlach yadcha el anar v'al taslo me'uma ki ata yadati ki yirei Elohim ata v'lechasakta et binchad yechidcha mimeni Vayisavraham et einav Vayar v'nei ayil achar nechaz basvak b'karnav Vayelech Avraham Vayikach et ayil Vayalehu le'olah tachat beno Vayikra Avraham Shem hamakom hahu Adonai yireh Asher yeyamer hayom Behar Adonai Yereh
Shkoch. Got it.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Shkoch. Kol hakavod, our Presidente. Okay. Tov, our fourth aliyah. We continue on verse 15, page 105. We invite Zachary Farber to come forward. Yamud Matan ben Chaim Avinu Malkeinu Laliyah Revi'it. Zach is coming forward with the Asher Edelstein Memorial Aliyah. Those of you who knew Asher Lava Shalom was such an amazing, first of all, a character, a person who loved life, loved humor, and especially loved kids and trained many, many kids in our congregation how to daven, how to lane, how to do Torah. And this honor is given to a student, a young person, every year who's demonstrated leadership and commitment in our youth community, our religious school, various aspects as a teacher, a madrich. We're so proud of you, and your family's proud of you. We're so proud of you, Zach. Kol hakavod. We're honored to give you this beautiful honor for your work and service to the congregation. So, the Aliyah, Bakasha.
Baruch hu Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Barak Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayikra Malach Adonai El Avraham Sheini min hashamayim Vayomer binishpatinu Adonai Ki Yahon asher asita et hadavar hazeh L'chasachta bincha yechidecha Yivarech avarechecha Behar bahar betzaracha Kechefei hashamayim V'chachol Asher asfat hayam Vayirash saracha Eid Sha'ar oivav V'barchu zaracha kol goyei haaretz Eikev asher shamata b'koli Vayashav Avraham el nerav Vayakumu Vayalchu yachdav el ber shava Vayeshav Avraham b'ber shava.
Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, notein haTorah.
Amen. Thank you so much. Great job, my man. We're so proud of you. All right. Tov, our fifth aliyah. We are on verse 20, page 105, and we're so honored to call the tallies for it, Robin and Wayne. Yamdu Ravaya Yael bat Avram Vasara, ve'Aaron Mordechai ben Avram Vasara, l'aliyah hachamishit.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai vorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher baruch banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Shikoach. Just hold this here. Okay, there you go.
Amen. Vayehi acharei hadevarim haele vayugal Abraham lemor hine yalda milka gamhi bahanim lenachor achicha erutz becharov yebuz achid v'yakimu el avi Abraham v'yakeset v'yachazol v'yapildash v'yadilah v'yed b'tu'el uvtu'el yaladet rivka shmona ele yalda milka lenachor achi Abraham ufilak shosh marilma batelet gam Hi et tefach v'yekacham v'yetachash v'yedmacham. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Happy New Year. Tov. So, Chevy, right now we place a cover on the Torah. I invite all to please rise. Before we offer the Chatzi Kaddish, we're going to offer a moment here for prayers for healing. Both those in our community and our congregation and the world who are suffering with illnesses and ailments on the outside that we can see, but also struggling, perhaps, sadly, on the inside too, in the neshama. We pray for all of them and hold them in our prayers. If you'd like to follow along with special Mishaberach we will offer by Debbie Friedman on page 115 in your Machzorim. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor Abracha Lemotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu Mekor Abracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, a renewal of body, a renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, ויאמר דברה חירותי והמליך מלכותי, בהר ירון וביומכון ובחייכו בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רב המבורך לעולם ועמל מעיי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ביעלם v'meru. Amen. And to lift and dress the Sefer Torah, we call Danny and Linda to come forward this time. The first Sefer Torah. Yamod Daniel ben Avraham Magbia Sefer Rishon. Tamod Chayesar bat Tzvi v'Fega Golelet Sefer Rishon. Vezot HaTorah Asher Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Pi Adonai V'yamad Moshe Ya 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 So, we now continue with the Maftir Aliyah. You can find on page 106 from the book of Numbers, chapter 29, verse 1. And we call forward to offer the Maftirah and Alema at this time. Tamod Chanalea bat Avram Lesara HaMaftira. So we're on page 106, verse 1.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Vorach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Uvachodesh hashvi'i be'echad lachodesh mikra kodesh yehiye lachem kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu yom trua yihye lachem v'hasitem olah L'reach nichoach l'Adonai par b'makar echad ayil echad kivasim b'nei Shanah shivat timimim uminchatam solet bilulav shaman Shilosha esronim lapar, shnei esronim la'ayil. Ve'isaron echad lakeves ha'echad, l'shivat ha'kevasim. Usirizim echad chatat, l'chaper alechem. Milevad olat hachodesh uminchata ve'olat hatamid uminchata v'niskehem k'mishpatam l'reach nichoach Ishe Ladonai.
Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shekochen. Lama. We rise together now to lift and dress the second Sefer Torah. Yamor Eliezer ben Pinchas v'Dvorah Magbia Sefer Shini Tamod Malkaser bat Fegav Avram Golelet Sefer Shini Vezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Honai V'Yad Moshe Ay 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 Seat everyone. Continue on page 111 in your Maftir, the Haftarah, from prophet Jeremiah, who speaks not only about, sadly, our dispersion, our exile, but that God will bring us back. Just like right now we are somewhat dispersed, still with COVID, God willing, we will all return, as the Haftarah teaches in Jeremiah. Bakasha and Lam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bachar bin v'im tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek Ko amar Adonai matzachein bamidbar am seridei charev haloch lahargio Yisrael mirachok Adonai nirali ve'ahavat olam ahavtich al kein mishaktich chased Od evnech v'nivneit betulat Yisrael Od tadit upayech v'yatzad bimchol mesechakim Od tit'i keramim v'harei shomron natu nodim v'hilelu Ko yesh yo ki yesh yom karu notzrim behar Ephraim kumu v'na'alet Zion El Adonai Eloheinu ki ko amar Adonai ranu leYaakov simcha v'tahalu berosh hagoyim hashmi'u hallelu v'imru Hosha Adonai et amcha et she'erit Yisrael Hini meviotam me'eretz tzafon V'kibatzti miyarketei aretz bam iver v'seach hara ve'yoledet yachdav kahal gadol yashuvu heina bivchi yavo uvtachanuni movilehem הוליכם אל נחלי מים, בדרך ישר, לא ייכשלו בה. כי הייתי לישראל ליאב, ואפרים בכורהו. שמעו דבר אדוני גויים, והגידו באים ממרחק ואמרו. מזרעי ישראל יקבצנו, ושמרו כרועה עדרו. כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ובאו וריננו במרום ציון, ונהרו אל טוב אדוני. על דגן ועל תירוש ועל יצהר, ועל בני צאן ובקר, והייתה נפשם כגן רבה, ולא יוסיפו לדאבה עוד. אז תשמח בתולה במחול, ובחורים וזקנים יחדיו, והפכתי אבלם לששון, וניחמתים ושימחתים מגונם. וריוויתי נפש הכהנים דשן, ועמי את טובי ישבעו נאום אדוני. כה אמר אדוני, קול ברמה נשמע נהי, בכי תמרורים רחל מבכה על בניה, מענה להינהם על בניה, כי איננו. כה אמר אדוני, מנעי קולך מבכי, ועינייך מדמעה, כי יש שכר לפעולתך נאום אדוני, ושבו מארץ אויב. ויש תקווה לאחריתך נאום אדוני, ושבו בנים לגבולם. שמוע שמעתי, אפרים מתנודד, יסרטני ויבשר כעגל לא lumad. השיבני וישובה, כי אתה אדוני אלוהי. כי אחרי שובי ניחמתי, ואחרי עבד ספקתי על ירך. בושתי וגם נכלמתי, כי נשאתי חרפת נעורי. הבן יכיר לי אפרים, אם ילד שעשועים, כי מדי דברי בו, זכור אזכרנו עוד על כן. המו מאי לו, רחם רחמנו, נאום אדוני. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו, נאמנים דבניך, ודבר אחד מדבריך, חור לא ישוב ריקם. כי אל מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הנאמן בכל דבריו.
אמן.
ki hi beit chayenu, v'la'alu bat nefesh toshia b'mheira v'yameinu. Baruch ata Adonai,
Boshemo.
Misameach Tzion bevanecha.
Amen.
Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha, u'v'malchut beit David moshechecha, b'mheira yavo v'yagel libeinu. Al kisolo yeshiv zar v'lo yinchalu od acherim et kavodo, ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo, shelo yikba nero leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai,
Boshemo.
Magen David.
Amen.
Al haTorah ve'al ha'avada ve'al hanvi'im ve'al yom hazikaron hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu lechavod ulitaferet. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach barechim otach. Yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai, tamid leolam va'ed, udvarcha emet v'kayam la'ad. Baruch ata Adonai,
Boshemo.
melech al kol ha'aretz, mekadesh Yisrael, v'yom hazikaron.
Amen. Shekochen. A beautiful, beautiful job. Kol hakavod. Very deep and inspiring. Tovah, at this time, friends, we invite all to please rise. We invite our shofar blower, Seth Weiner, to make his way to the bima. Before we offer the blast of the shofar, we're going to offer a few prayers on page 117 on the side column in the margins. We're going to offer the alternative prayers for our country, the United States. God should bless her as well as the state of Israel. Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask your blessings for our country, for its government, for its leaders and advisors, and for all exercise just and rightful authority. Teach them insights from your Torah, that they may administer all affairs of state fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in your midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of your country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony to banish hatred and bigotry and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land under your providence be an influence for good throughout the world, uniting all people in peace and freedom, helping them to fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they experience war anymore. And let us say, Ribon haolam, kabel na barachamim v'ratzon et tfilatenu laman medinat Yisrael. Sovereign of the universe, accept in loving kindness and with favor our prayers for the state of Israel, her government, and all who dwell within her boundaries and under her authority. Open our eyes and our hearts to the wonder of Israel, and strengthen our faith in your power to work redemption in every human soul. Grant us also the fortitude to keep ever before us those ideals upon which the state of Israel was founded. Grant courage, wisdom, and strength to those entrusted with guiding Israel's destiny to do your will. Be with those on whose shoulders Israel's safety depends, and defend them from all harm. Spread over Israel and all the world your shelter of peace, and may the vision of your prophets soon be fulfilled. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev lo yilmodu od milchama. And we say together, Amen. With this time, we invite Dr. Seth Weinrab, one of our wonderful shofar blowers, Bali Tokea, to come here to the bima. On page 119, you can follow the shofar blast. But as I noted yesterday, every year, it's not only about the blasts and their sound, which should awaken us, it's also about committing to action. That the shofar blast wakes us up, as Maimonides says, from our slumber of life lived unconsciously, to have more da'at, in the words of yesterday's drasha, then also to commit. In what ways am I willing to act and to do? Does this blast push me forward to act in the year to come with God's help? So I invite Seth to offer the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen. Tekiah. Shvarim Truah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim Truah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim Truah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah Gedolah. Yeshakor, kol hakavod. Ashrei am yodet ruah Adonai beor panecha yehalechum. Adonai, that we are so celebrating together. Joyous are those who dwell in your house. Joyous are those who hear the sound of the shofar. Yeshakor, Dr. Weimer, beautifully done, Seth. You lifted us up as well as yesterday. We now remain standing to return the Sifrei Torah to the Ark. Invite those honored to do so. We turn to page 121 in our Machzorim. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskar shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayaren geren le'amo, tila lecho, hasida livnei Yisrael, am kirovo, hallelujah. Hallelujah, it's Chaimi Lemarazigiva Avetoreha Veosha Derahe Malkeinu v'chonesi v'adeh Hashalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nam Shuva Hadesh Yameinu Yegere Ya 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 Yasher koach, everyone. Beautiful job. So this now concludes our Torah service for the morning. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make the executive decision. It's about 10:55. We're going to continue our service at 11:15, and it will be strictly virtual. This will be the opportunity for me and Rabbi Jenny to take our masks off and to daven the service. So at 11:15, you all have time to go home carefully or go where you like to go to continue davening the service from your various technology. But I want to remind everybody that we, of course, have Shabbat services this weekend, Shabbat Shuvah, one of the holy Shabbatot of the year. And then we have Kever Avot on Sunday, which is the gathering at the Raleigh Hebrew Cemetery, as well as Open the Gates on Sunday night, and Yom Kippur. Stay tuned for Yom Kippur. We'll see how we're going to work out the Yom Kippur experience. Obviously, the goal will be to be as much in person as possible for those who choose. We will definitely update you when we get contact with medical and more discussions for more information. So Yasher koach to everyone. Wish everyone a Shana Tova Mituka. We'll see you online starting at 11:15. Ya 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 ya.
Azameira, Azameira. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uborech osher oseh shalom uboreh et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uborech osher oseh shalom uboreh et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uborech osher oseh shalom uborech osher. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uborech osher oseh shalom uborech osher oseh shalom uborech osher oseh shalom uborech hakol. Tzur Yisrael kuma, Bezrat Yisrael kuma, Uftechinu mecha Yehuda Yisrael, Tzur Yisrael Kuma Goalenu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo Kedosh 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 Yisrael Tzur Yisrael Kuma Bezrat Yisrael Kuma Uftech Linu Mecha Yehuda veYisrael Tzur Yisrael Kuma Goalenu Adonai Tzvaot Shemo Kedosh 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 Yisrael If my voice were louder, if my body stronger, I would run through the streets crying peace, peace, peace. Yada-da-da-da-da, yada-da-da-da-da, yada-da-da-da-da-da, yada-da-da-da-da, 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 If my voice were louder, if my body stronger, I would run through the streets crying peace, peace, peace. Here I am. Here I am.
Sim shalom tovah uvracha. Sim shalom. 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 Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah. 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 Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah. Sim shalom. Sim shalom tovah. Sim shalom. ורחמים, חסד ושלום, אהבה ורחמים, חסד ושלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם חדש 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 ימינו חדש 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 ימינו השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם. לאדוני הארץ ומלואה ומלואה לאדוני הארץ ומלואה ומלואה תבן ויושבי בה תבן ויושבי בה תבן ויושבי בה תבן ויושבי בה לאדוני הארץ ומלואה ומלואה לאדוני הארץ ומלואה ומלואה תבן ויושבי בה תבן ויושבי בה תבן ויושבי בה
Shana Tovah, everyone. Shana Tovah tikatevu v'tichatemu. May all be, please God, written and sealed in the book of life. We're here on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Once again, Rabbi Jay and I will lead the davening, the tefillot of Shacharit, the early morning service, and then we'll have a chance for a drasha, a sermon, and we'll conclude with the Musaf, some of the most powerful, meaningful prayers of the holiday that bring us the range of emotions and experiences, but ultimately a chance for presence, chance wherever you are. I know some of you, of course, everyone's virtual in this moment, but whether you're here in Raleigh or in other places, get yourself comfortable, find a seat, take the machzor either here or online. You can find a link for it. Let it sink in. Let your prayers rise up. Let the melodies rise up. Do your best. These are challenging circumstances, no doubt, but together we can find a way to pray and be grateful in this new year. So begin our davening, our service on page 37. We rise together for Birchot HaShachar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sech v'bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלמו.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מפטיר אסורים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקע הארץ על המים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עושה ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן לעייף כוח. You may be seated.
We continue now with Psalm 27, which is found on page 44. Achat sha'alti. And we take this moment to remember, there's so many days of the year where we don't have a choice. We have to busy ourselves and do and get out there. And it's not just that we have to do Rosh Hashanah, we get to do Rosh Hashanah. And for those of us who are gathering here on this second day, wherever you may be, we get to sit. And this line in Psalm 27 says, one thing I ask of you, Adonai, Divine One, Holy One, is just to be able to sit here. Just to be able to sit and contemplate my life, contemplate where I am, my blessings, how I want to grow, who I want to become in the year ahead. What a gift it is just to be able to sit. Achat sha'alti me'ed Adonai
שאלתי אותה אבקש. עד שאלתי מאת אדוני. עד שאלתי אותה אבקש. שבתי, שבתי, בבית אדוני. שבתי, שבתי, כל ימי חיי. שבתי, שבתי, בבית אדוני. שבתי, שבתי, כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולתאם בהיכלו, לחזות בנועם אדוני, ולקר בהיכלו. עד שאלתי מאת אדוני. עד שאלתי אותה אבקש.
Continue now on page 69. As we prepare for the words of Hamelech, we remember that there is a power beyond us, that there is a unity underlying all creation that not only binds us as one, but gives us the strength and the fortitude that we need to become our best selves in the year to come. האל בתעצמות עוזך,
הגדול ויבוא שמך, הגיבור לנצח,
והנורא
ונורותיך.
כיסא ונישא שוכנה, מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב עלינו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה, בפי שרים תתרומם, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובלשון חסידים תתקדש, ובקרב קדושים תתעלה, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. להודות ולהלל, לשבח, לפאר, להדל, לברך, לקלס, על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו,
אל מלך הגדול הקדוש בשמיים.
ברכות והודעות מעתה ויד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול התשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון נפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך העולמים.
Amen. Page 70 at the bottom.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
ברבה דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי.
ויבוא
יום
יום
אחד
אחד.
ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו
אמן. שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לא מעל מעיים.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא
ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל
שמי קודשה בריחו לילה לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בלמה ואמרו אמן.
Page 71, a slight bow for the Baruch Hu.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
You may be seated.
We continue now with the first blessing before the Shema, middle of page 71. We thank God for the light, for the or, and also for the darkness, choshech, for it all. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvorech choshech oseh shalom uvorech hakol or olam beotzar chaim orot meofel amar
Continue on page 76, the blessing before Shema Yisrael, focusing on the love, God's love for all of us, for all of humanity. It's customary to grab the four corners of your talit tzitziot together, bind them as one, as a sign of the oneness of Shema Yisrael, the oneness of God. So page 76, directly into Shema Yisrael.
וקרבתנו לשמך הקדוש אל הבאמת, להודות לך ולייחל לך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai
אהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשיתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך, ושוכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך. עם שמוע תשמעו ששנכים מצעריכם. Amen. Continue the top of page 80.
תהילל יום ברכו מבורך משה מרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך בנים אדוני מי כמוך נטל בקודש נוראתי לו אוסף פלא שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך שפת הים יחד כולם עוד ובמלכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופתחנו ממך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. So Chevra, we're once again do a hicha Kedusha. Place your feet and face east as you're able to towards Yerushalayim. We'll dive in pages 81 through 83 together. And then we'll skip to the Kedusha on page 86. After you do all those three prayers, the beginning prayers, Avot, the Imahot, the Gvurot, and the Kedusha, 81 through 83, 86, the rest of Amidah will be done silently, pages 88 through 91. I'll remind you, don't worry. But again, take your time. It's a chance for reflection, chance for prayer, following Chana's method or modeling the Haftarah of the first day, where she prays with her lips are moving and with such intensity, but no sound comes out because her prayer is in a whisper that only the Holy One can hear, so to speak. So take your time to pray. Look back on your year. What are you grateful for? What are you yearning for? What are your hopes for the year? What do you need help? What are you looking for in terms of help beyond yourself, the power beyond us, to please God give you strength and fortitude this year to come? So feet together, face the ark towards Yerushalayim, 81 through 83 and 86 together.
Baruch Shemo Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל וזוכר אז יבוא ממעון ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ביעבר מסוד חכמים ונבונים ומלמד דעת מבינים הבטחה בי בתפילה ובתחנונים לחלות ולחנן פני מלך מלכי המלכים ואדוני אדוני זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וחודרנו
בסבר העיר, למענך, למענך, אלוהים חיים.
מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך שמו.
מגן אברהם ופוקד
שרה. אמן.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים מתים, אתה רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים וחסד, מחיי מתים, רחמים רבים, סומך נופלים, ורוב וחולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע. מי כמוך ברחם זוכר צוריו, לחיים ורחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
מחיי המתים.
Amen. Continue page 86, the Kedusha.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותי בשמי מרום, כך כתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה, ואמר,
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך הארץ כבודו.
אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק, משמיעים קול, מנסים לעומת צרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו,
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב ימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים. ואיננו תירנו מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה.
לדור ודור נגיד קולך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, בשבחך אלוהינו פילוש לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
המלך הקדוש.
Amen. We continue with silent prayer. I'd like to follow the traditional prayers with pages 88 through 91, beginning on the second paragraph at the top of 88. Silent Amidah.
ניזכר וניכתב לפניך.
אנחנו לכל עמך בית ישראל,
לחיים
טובים ולשלום.
ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך הוא שמו,
עושה השלום.
Amen. We now turn in our Maftir to page 93 for the classic and beautiful piyut and prayer of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Avinu Malkeinu. I invite you responsively with me and Rabbi Jenny on page 93. Avinu Malkeinu, we have sinned in your presence.
Our Creator who blesses us, we have no sovereign but you.
Our Redeemer who guards us, act kindly in keeping with your name.
You who seek us out and sustain us, make this new year a good one for us.
You who are our glory, our Savior, annul every harsh decree against us.
Ancient One, our rescuer, nullify the designs of our foes.
Provider, our refuge, rid your covenanted people of disease, war, hunger, captivity, and destruction.
You who are our strength, who gives us life, rid us of every oppressor and adversary.
You who purify us and have mercy on us, forgive and pardon all our sins.
You who form us and instruct us, return us to your presence fully penitent.
You who establish us and provide for us, send complete healing to the sick among your people.
You, our beloved, who raised us, remember us favorably.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us for good in the book of life.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of sustenance.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of merit.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness. Page 94 in the middle. Benefactor who provides for our welfare, do this for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, have mercy on us, answer us, for our deeds are insufficient. Deal with us charitably and lovingly, and redeem us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'aneinu, Gien banu masim, Azei imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, Azei imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'oshienu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'aneinu, Yemanu masim, Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'oshienu.
You may be seated. Kaddish Shalem, page 94.
יתגדל ויקדש שם מרבה בין בעלמא דברה חירותי לברותי וחי הודו ביום אחד חי לכו בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שם מרבה ופרח לעולם עולם בים הים יתפרע וישתבע ויתפרע ויתרמה ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשא
בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה מרבי עלמא ואמרו אמן תתקבל אצל אדון ובאותו נכו ישראל קדם אבוהון די ושמיא ואמרו אמן יהי שלום רבה משמיא וחיים עלינו ועם ישראל ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Tov, Shana Tovah, everyone. Shana Tovah Mituka, the second day of Rosh Hashanah. Once again, we don't have you here all physically, although it was a blessing to have at least you here for part, and we feel your presence regardless. And hopefully these words here will give some inspiration, some reflection, during this challenging time, ongoing challenging time. All right, so recently, some of you know, of course, many of you know, that I, and actually now Rabbi Jenny, we are involved in a local North Raleigh clergy group. And it's a wonderful group of various religious traditions, and mainly the churches and a mosque in this kind of, our area, in this kind of part of Northeast Raleigh, you might call it even, together, and we continue, even during the pandemic, to get together on Zoom, just like everyone else is. And during a recent meeting, there was one member of the group who, you can understand, has started serving a new church during the pandemic. So he has he's met his members over time, outside, the whole thing. But he's not even experienced what it's like to have his community at all. And there are some people in our shul who have had this. We have people in our own shul working for our shul, including who have not had the full experience. And there are people who have moved to Raleigh or Beth Meyer or started new jobs. You know what it's like. But, tough, particularly in our business where we're community people and getting to know people. And so one of the lines he said about the experience that he's had, really have all had, coming somewhere new, hard to meet people, the mat came in hard to identify people because of the masks. And then we had this tease this summer, got vaccinated, the vast majority, I'm happy to say, in our community and the Jewish community in general, yes, appeared we could begin to do some things back to some sense of normal, and then the breakthroughs and all the challenges, as we know all too well. It's kind of like this back and forth. And what he described it as, using a baseball metaphor, as he said, it felt to me that I came ready for a regular baseball game, and when it reached the ninth inning, and I thought it was the end, all of a sudden someone came over to me and said, it's going to be a doubleheader. And for those of you who are baseball fans know exactly what that is. For those who don't know, the Rashi on that is a doubleheader is when you play 2 games in a row. So what he said, I think, is quite profound. Because many of us felt like we put in the time of the waiting, we put in the time of masking and acting, I hope for the vast majority of us, like mensches, and it seemed like we'd be rewarded for that. And then we were told, not so fast. Now we may have to continue. In fact, we are continuing to wait. And this idea of waiting, a doubleheader, the tease of the end, kind of the tease of the promised land, but then being told you have to go back to wander. This idea of wandering for a long time, not able to make it to our promised land, This, if I just say kind of like what are the top few skill sets that our people has in our memory and our Torah, tell me that our people knows very well. I'm not saying we're not an impatient people. Believe me, patience is not my best. But our people understands what it means to have to wait. Our people understands. We have a kind of spiritual skill set of what it means to yearn deeply for something to happen, and then either to be told or to realize it's not going to happen on our schedule or very quickly. And you know, when I say this, you know it well. First of all, there's the famous thing on the Passover Seder. I say it with a wink, right? There's the 4 questions. Why do we recline? Why matzah? Why is this night different? And the 5th question, when do we eat? No, that was just a joke, okay? But the idea is a lot of our rituals take time. The machzor can be long. It takes a while to get to the end. There's a reason behind that, by the way. Time takes reflection, but it's long. The Passover Seder, it also can be a little bit long, okay? But those are kind of more the light ones. The more serious ones, we've been waiting 2,000 years or more for the Mashiach, for the Messiah. We know what it means to yearn for that day when peace will be on earth, to do all we can to bring peace on earth. But to realize that shalom is still far from us doesn't mean we can desist from the work, as Pirkei Avot says, but we know what it's like to wait. We know what it's like to be in exile from our land. You know, our story of our people is originally in the land of Israel. And then we had to go on our wanderings throughout the world. And thank God we were restored in 1948, but we understand what it means to be nearly 2,000 years waiting, just waiting for history and life to change. But probably the most famous, like when we say about waiting and yearning in our tradition, the most famous one is when we were in Egypt and we were enslaved, and then we got ready to go on the way to the Promised Land. According to the book of Deuteronomy, in a very famous pasuk, chapter 1, right at the beginning, verse 2, it says, when we left Egypt finally and ready to go to the Promised Land, it should have been an 11-day journey, specifically from Mount Sinai, 11 days of walking to Kaddish Barnea, right into the edge of the land of Israel. It should have been 11 days. But how long did it take? 40 years. That story, that is our people's story. We know what it means to say, wait a second, you guys hear people saying, Moshe, can we just turn over here? It's just 11 days away. But God makes us go and wait. And you imagine even the tease of it. Like, probably some people could kind of see a little bit of it or think it's not that far, but then being told, no, got to go this way. It's kind of like when you think the vaccine, they're going to solve the problem. Oh, maybe need a booster. Maybe we got to put masks back on. It's like a tease of the potential and then being pulled back. We have been through that before. And what I want to offer here, specifically around our wandering, is what I believe to be the deepest spiritual wisdom on that, to hopefully for us to have some inspiration, to think in a new way about what it means to have to wait such a long time for this period, this COVID period, to be over. So there are 3 reasons given, or 2 classic reasons and 1 mystic, Kabbalistic reason of why we wandered I want to bring forward. The classic explanation, the Torah says it's called the Pshat, very direct. Why we wandered so long is it was a punishment. You remember the story, I'm sure, back in the book of Numbers, in Shlach Lecha, we send out Moshe sends out spies to check out the land, see what's going on. 12 spies. There's people in the land. The land's built of milk and honey. Also, it looks good, but the people were scared. 10 of the spies say, Oive, forget it. We can't do it. They are giants. We're going to get crushed. Just forget it. 2 of them, Joshua and Caleb, they say, yes, we can, but they're overwhelmed, we'll say, by the other 10. So one statement or one commentary or one actually direct quote in the Torah is we're made to wander because of the 10 spies that spoke poorly about the land of Israel. Basically, God said to him, here's your punishment. You don't like what the land has to offer? You can wait a long time to get there. Okay, that's the first kind of classic pshat. There's a second reason, brought more by the Midrash and by the commentary. And this one also, so many of you are familiar as well. Another explanation says, well, it wasn't so much a punishment because we spoke poorly or we're wandering just for, I don't know, some kind of self-inflicted, kind of like a teaching via that way. The issue is more kind of leadership-oriented. One idea, and I think it's quite profound, and many of you, I think, who are in business and all aspects of your life can appreciate this, is that the teaching is that the generation that was in Egypt, that was enslaved, the generation that suffered directly and yearned to be free, that leadership, that people were not going to be the same people and leaders who are going to be able to enter the land and create a new society and a new country. The group that experienced the pain, the suffering, had its own wisdom, its own teaching, its own da'at, you might say. But we needed new leaders and a new generation to come forward went to the promised land. In fact, that's one of the teachings why Moses wasn't allowed in. Aside from what you read in the Torah, some believe to say Moshe was a great leader to get us out of Egypt, even to wander. But he wasn't good necessarily to be the right leader when we get into the land. That was Joshua. So this idea of the time taking was actually a time for a new generation to arise in leadership. That's a second classic explanation. But I want to give you the third. The third classic explanation of why it took us so long and why we wandered is from the Kabbalists. It's from the mystics. And I want to focus on one particular Kabbalist, Jewish mystic teacher, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, also known as the Ari. And those that have been to Israel and Tzfat know there's a specific shul, a Beit Knesset, a synagogue, that was like his synagogue. And he has spent time in Tzfat. He was from Spain. He was exiled. He went to Tzfat. And he was himself a tremendous scholar and a progenitor of mysticism and interpretations, mystic interpretations on his own. He wrote many books and on the subject of Kabbalah. And he has a specific teaching, follow me here, some of you may be familiar, about what his take is, what his perspective mystically is on creation. Of course, very appropriate again, because it's Rosh Hashanah, about the creation of the world. So check this out. I'm not going to give you the whole thing because, honestly, it's quite complex and a bit esoteric, and you definitely can Google it up, and afterwards, maybe the rest of Rosh Hashanah, read about it, because it's fascinating. But this is the basic idea, Big Gadol. Here's what he says. He says, in the beginning of the world, put the Torah to the side for the moment. Just speaking about God. In the beginning, all there was God. And God was not, and never is, a thing, like something you can touch, not a man in the sky with a beard. God is the life force of the universe. God is the energy that gives life to the world. But all there was in the entirety of the cosmos was God. And in a sense, that's all there was, that's all there needed to be. But at some point, God, again, I'm speaking here anthropomorphically, but again, it's all metaphor. God recognized that God wanted there to be a created world that's not just God, all by God's self, so to speak, but another entity that we now call, the earth, the sun, the moon, the planets, human beings, etc., and now we follow the Torah. So the question the Kabbalists ask is, if everything's God and God is filling every single corner of the universe, where is there any space for creation? How can there be creation? How can God let there be space for creation? So according to Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, his theology is, God had to do tzimtzum. God had to contract God's self, so to speak, kind of create some space, a little bit in the corner of the universe, for there to be the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, the snake, etc. And to create that space, God had to actually pull back some of God's presence and allow a new space to develop. Now that space, since it was formerly filled with God, it itself would have God energy in it. It's not that it was devoid of God, but God had to do some pulling back to let the children, the new people, start to grow. Some parents, maybe you can get into this metaphor, teachers as well, right? Let the creation go forward. God had to pull back. Okay, so there's a space in the cosmos that's ready for creation on Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Well, how are things going to be created? How is that going to have any energy? How are things going to get started? What's the prime mover that pushes this to happen? According to the Kabbalistic read of the Ari, God took a very powerful beam of light from God's self and shined it like a laser beam into that part of the cosmos where creation was going to take place. And the idea, ideally, was God was going to shine this light of love and kindness and gavura and all the things called sfirot, for those who are familiar, into the world, all this love energy, creative energy, and it would create this amazing created world. Well, according to the Ari, when that light went into that space, which was this very unique space. It was formerly filled with God. Now it still has some of God's presence, a Rishimu, but it's in a new, it was a very, say, unstable place spiritually. It's a new place. When that light of God came in, that creative energy came in to create things, it was too overwhelming for that space. That space couldn't handle all that light, all of God's energy. And what happened? There was an explosion. Some would call this, by the way, a big bang, okay? A big bang, a destructive explosion, because the light was too strong. And what happened after that are little shards of light, little sparks of light that were shot out because of the overwhelming strength of God's light that couldn't be contained in this new world, were scattered throughout the created world. So the world did in the end start, but it started through something explosive, some might even say a little bit destructive, and it scattered throughout the world divine sparks of light. Now follow me here. One last piece, I'm going to tell you what I think it means for us here. The last piece he says, the Ari says, so what is our job? Our job as Jews is to go throughout our lives looking, seeking those divine sparks of light, those divine sparks of God, you might say. And they are hidden throughout the earth, throughout the world. Most of the time, I will say, we don't notice them. They are hidden from our eye. But on occasion, we see and experience and even capture and understand fully in the depth of our soul those sparks of hidden light in the course of our lives. All right, let's come back. What does this have to do with the wandering? I said in the beginning, we wandered because of the spies, we wandered because of new generation. What's the wandering to deal with this creation story? Well, according to the RE, here's the take home. We had to wander for a long time because the goal of the wandering was not simply to get to the promised land, although that's where we were going, and we want to get there eventually. Please God. The goal of the wandering is to look for sparks of light. And sometimes it takes time to really sit and reflect and breathe and look at the world in a certain way where you can find those sparks of light. Because if you travel too quickly, you may just be blinded to the sparks of light. So his read on the wandering. Why do we wander so long? Because our people had a lot of sparks of light that we had to capture before we could get into the promised land. Okay. That's all theoretical. Let me now bring it down to say, what does this mean for us here right now as we wait? What I want to say is, all of us, including me, Rabbi Jenny, everyone here, everyone in the world, we are sick of wandering and not being in the promised land of being post-COVID. Believe me, I'd like to be there quick too. I am not saying that God is making us wait because there's a that's not my theology. But what I am saying, and I know this for myself, and you here in this shul have taught this to me, is that this period of waiting and yearning and wandering is giving us an opportunity to see divine sparks that we may not have seen under other circumstances. Let me give you just one example in our community. In our community in the past couple of years, sadly, there's been a relatively young parent, a mom, who is struggling with a major, serious, potentially life-threatening health issue. She's married, thank God, a very supportive family and husband, and has children. You can only imagine the pain, the fear, the concern that she has faced dealing with her health condition, serious health condition, raising a family, she's a professional,
under normal circumstances. Then you add in having to deal with treatments, hospital visits, emergency situations during COVID, when all of us are trying our best, except for those that work in the medical field, essentially to avoid medical situations or the hospital, afraid of getting COVID. She has to go into those places much more than she would like, because that's what's giving her the medicine, the support, the medical support, etc., to live. She's in clearly an anxious and difficult place. And I have been talking with her, as well as Rabbi Jenny, over the course of many years about this journey. And she has remarkably, with the support and with her own prayer life, with her own community, she has found a way to be strong, remarkably courageously strong during this time. But what she said to us, me particularly, in a recent meeting just blew me away. And it defined for me what I would call finding the divine sparks in the wandering and in the waiting. She had gone through some treatments. She was weak, dizzy. Her eating was terrible. She wanted to be there for her kids, during this, all the virtual school. But she said to me, you know what, Rabbi? When I was in the hospital getting my treatments, when I was sitting there with a mask and everyone around is trying to stay distant, and I feel like I'm going to a hospital which, so many signs, people are dying in the ICU. People have COVID all around. What occurred to me was, how blessed am I? I'll be honest, when she said that, I thought, that's crazy. What do you mean how blessed you are? How privileged I am, Rabbi. I am in a country and in a city with tremendous medical care. I am getting the best medical care possible, even under COVID. We are not wealthy beyond compare, but we have enough to provide me the chance to get this medical care and at the same time not have to work, to allow me to take care of my kids as I'm able to, and also take this time off for our treatments. Thank God for my partner and his work. How blessed are we? When I was sitting there in the hospital getting treatments, becoming weak, all I kept thinking about was, how many people are not as lucky and fortunate as I am? And she said, you know what this has taught me more than ever? Is to be grateful for our country, be grateful for medical professionals, be grateful for our hospitals, be grateful for where I live, for our city, for my children, for my husband, for how fortunate and blessed I am. Remember, she didn't say, God gave this to me, this is the reason I got sick. No, that's not what we're saying. What we are saying is she was able to find divine sparks of light that under normal circumstances she, nor frankly me or anybody would find. But she found them in her wandering and in her waiting and frankly in her suffering. So come back. This time is hard. There's no doubt about it. Everyone is suffering. It was a tease that we got a piece of potential, and now we're pulled back. Who knows where we are? Here's my charge to you. Here's my blessing for you. My blessing for me and for all of us. Let us take this time and see this time. Not just about what we don't have. Not just about what got canceled. Not only about what we lost, which is true, and it's okay to be upset about that, to fetch and struggle. That's in our tradition too. But what else are the sparks of light, the wisdom, the appreciation? Perhaps we appreciate medical workers like we never did before. Perhaps it's a time to focus on the attribute of patience, what it means truly to be patient. By wearing a mask so long, may it make us appreciate and remember those people who have trouble breathing or say they cannot breathe under normal circumstances. This time, although we did not ask for it, is a time for spiritual growth and learning. Our people yearned for thousands of years for Israel, for thousands of years for the Messiah, for 40 years. I think we too can use their wisdom to not only see the waiting and yearning as wasted time, but perhaps it's spark gathering time. In this year to come, I invite us, when things are tough, when they go worse, and who knows what the winter will be like, how this continues. Turn to each other, turn to people you love, turn to yourself, and say, be a spark gatherer. Not just a complainer, not just someone who struggles and cries, although that's appropriate, but also one who gathers the divine sparks, because according to the Kabbalah, they are there in our wandering. And in our wandering, we will be able to collect them. And when, God willing, this is over and we're in the promised land of post-COVID, we will not be the same people. We will be different because we accrued these sparks of light, and we will bring them to our future, to ourselves, to our people, and to the world. And in that way, we truly will not only gather sparks of light, we will be a spark of light. That is the message of our waiting. That is our people's wisdom around waiting. May we get there soon with as many sparks as we can gather in the process. Shana Tovah umetuka.
Yeshur koach. We continue now with the Musaf service, which you can find on the middle of page 123. We rise for Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkada, Shemei Rabba, Mi'alma divrach Hirutei, Ve'yamich Malchutei, V'chayecho v'yomecho v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, B'gala u'vizman gariv, Ve'imeru Amei, Yesh me'ira v'mevora, Ve'ara mula ve'amaya, Yitbarach, Ve'ishtabach, Ve'itpahar, Ve'itromam, Ve'itnaseh, Ve'itadar, Ve'italel, Ve'italel, Shemei Kedusha, Barichu, Le'ela, Le'ela, Mikol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata, Lenechemata, Damiran Be'alma, Ve'imeru, Amen.
So everybody place our feet together and face the ark towards Yerushalayim as you're able. We'll begin together on pages 141 and 142 and 143 through Unatana Tokev. We'll then skip to the Kedusha, which I will guide you through. And after Kedusha, we'll have much time for silent prayer and silent reflection, both the traditional prayers in our Machzor and truly the prayers of our heart. So we begin on page 141. We rise as the ark is open.
Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo
Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדיו אבימות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו ביעבר.
Page 141, Misod.
מסוד חכמים ונבונים ומלמד דעת מבינים הבטחה פי בתפילה ובתחנונים לחלות ולחנן פני מלך מלכי המלכים ואדוני אדונים זוכרנו לחיים מלך הארץ וחיים זוכרנו לחיים מלך הארץ וחיים והודנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר פוקד ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע מחלקל חיים וחסד לחיים עדי ברחמים רבי סומך נבלי הרב לחולים ומתיר אסורי ומקיים אמונתו לשני עבר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך במידו מחיה מצמיח ישועה מי כמוך ורחמים זוכר צוריו לחיים ורחמים ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
מחיי המתים.
Amen. Continue now on page 143 with the Unatana Tokef, which reminds us of life, its preciousness, our mortality, the fact that on this day, on this period of time, we realize that we are in many ways helpless. We sit before God, before the power beyond us, and recognize that our life is limited. Let us speak of the sacred power of this day, profound and awe-inspiring. On it, your sovereignty is celebrated, and your throne, from which you rule in truth, is established with love. Truly, you are a judge and prosecutor, expert in witness, completing the indictment, bringing the case, and enumerating the counts. You recall all that is forgotten, and will open the book of remembrance, which speaks for itself. Our own hands have signed the page.
ובכן, ולחת על הקדושה, כי אתה אלוהינו מלך, ונתן את תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא והיום, כי הוא נורא והיום.
The great shofar will be sounded, and a still small voice will be heard. Angels will be alarmed, seized with fear and trembling, declaring, "This very day is a day of judgment, for even the hosts of heaven are judged.
No one is innocent in your sight. All that lives on earth will pass before you like a flock of sheep. The shepherd examines the flock, making each sheep pass under the staff. So you will review and number and count, judging each living being, determine the fate of everything in creation, inscribing their destiny.
ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומלאו יקרא וחותם יד כל אדם בו, ובשופר גדול ייתקע וקודם המדקה יישמע ומלאכים יחפזון וחילו רדה יוחזון ויאמרו הנה יום הדין הנה יום הדין לבגוד הזבה מרום בדין לבגוד הזבה מרום בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין וכל באי עולם יעברון לפניך כבני מרון כבקרת רועה דרור מעביר צאנו תחת שבטו כן תעביר ותספור ותמנה ותפקוד נפש כל חי ותחתוך לקצבה לכל בריאה ותכתוב וגזר דינה וראש השנה ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון כמה יעברון וכמה ייבראון מי יחיה ומי ימות מי וקיצו ומי לא וקיצו בראש השנה ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור יירדמון מי באש ומי במים מי בחרב ומי בחיה מי ברב ומי בצמא מי ברש ומי במגבה בראש השנה ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור יירדמון מי בחניקה ומי בסקילה מי ינוח ומי ינוע מי ישקיט ומי יטורף מי ישלב ומי יתייסר מי יעני ומי ישיר מי יושפל ומי ירורום בראש השנה ייכתבון וביום צום כיפור יירדמון.
144, but tshuva, tefillah, and tzedakah have the power to transform the harshness of our destiny.
ותשובה ותפילה וצדקה מעבירים את רוע הגזרה.
We remain standing. We continue on page 145 of the Kedusha.
יסוד שיח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, דרי מעלה עם דרי מטה, ככתוב על יד אביך, וקרא זה אל זה,
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות מלאכת כבודו.
כבודו מלא עולם משרתיו, שואלים זה לזה, היה מקום כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו,
ברוך כבוד אדוני
ממקומו הוא יפן ברחמים, ויחונם יחד עם שמו ערב ובוקר, בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים יהבה, שמה אומרים,
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו שנדלנה כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, מה אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ויהיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, מיום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
אם לא נראה לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור,
הללויה.
146.
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו פילנו ישתלם ועד, כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו
המלך הקדוש.
Amen. So Chevra Amidah continues the traditional prayers from pages 149 through 169. There are many, many prayers included here. Some are optional, some are opportunities for poetry. Again, take your time. Perhaps select a few lines, or just simply close your eyes and be inspired by some of the prayers. Take this opportunity to offer your prayer in your heart. But the traditional prayers, pages 149 through 169.
בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה נזכר ונכתב לפניך אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ולשלום.
Now, page 170. Rise, the altar is open for Hayom.
היום, 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 היום,
היום תארצנו, אמן. היום, היום,
Page 170.
היום,
היום, היום, היום תברכנו, אמן. היום, 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 היום תגדלנו, אמן. היום, 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 היום תדרשנו לטובה, אמן. היום, 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 היום תכתבנו לחיים טובים, אמן. היום, 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 היום תקבל ברכה מרצון את תפילתנו, אמן. היום, 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 היום תשמע שבתנו, אמן. היום, 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 היום תתמכנו מימין צדקך, amen. May be seated, everyone. Continue now with Kaddish Shalem, page 171.
ויגדל שם מרבה ואמר ירדם למלכותך וחייבו ביום אחד וחייבו בישראל עגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יש שם מרבה וברך לעולם ולעולם ועולם יתפרע וישתבח ויתפרע ויתרומם יתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלם שמית קדושה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דיאמירה בעלמה ואמרו אמן תתקבל צלותו ובאותו דרכו ישראל קדם אבוהון די ושמיה ואמרו אמן יהי שלום רבה משמיה וחיים עלינו ועל ישראל היה ואמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמרו אמן
We now turn to the Great Aleinu. It's traditionally on page 172. We're going to go back to page 154 in our mock stream. I'm correct. All right, James, 154, correct, 154. We invite you to rise, and those who feel comfortable or able to, physically, to go all the way down, to prostrate yourselves. This few times of year, true humility. If you're not able to do it physically for various reasons, it's okay. Do it in your heart. What does it mean to be humbled before God on Rosh Hashanah?
Ladon hakol, latet gdula, liotze bereshit, shelo asanu, kigoye haratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל עמונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא
Maybe seated, everyone. We turn now to page 174. We invite those in mourning or observing a yard site on this second day of Rosh Hashanah to rise for Mourner's Kaddish. Just have one sad announcement to make that sadly we found out just at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah that sadly Francis Penzler, very, very long-standing member of Beth Meyer Synagogue, deeply revered and honored. For many, many years served this congregation, was generous with her time, with her tzedakah, would often sit in a certain space here in Beth Meyer, and Jenny can remember it. Sadly, she died. She lived a very long life, had tremendous influence on many people in our community related to Joanne Pizer Fox, Alei Shalom, many of you know. So information after the holiday will come forward about her funeral here in Raleigh. But suffice it to say, it's not at the moment prepared to recite the Mourner's Kaddish according to Jewish law. We wait till she is buried. But I know that means a lot to a lot of us. Her soul, her influence is so profound, and we hold her in our hearts and her family as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish. So those in mourning invite you to rise. Page 174, Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. Be'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru.
Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah bevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei d'Kedusha.
Bricha.
Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Damiran bi'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol yeshvei tevel. V'yimru.
Amen.
You may be seated, everyone. Shana Tovah, everyone. A good, please God, healthy and sweet Leba Dekayar, as Asher Edelstein would say. Shalom. A sweet, happy, good new year. So, our services are concluding in just a moment. Reminder, this upcoming, of course, Shabbat services on Friday night, 8 p.m. We actually have a minyan, also this evening at 7 p.m. Then we have Shabbat services, Shabbat Shuvah here at the Shul. And then Sunday, 10:30 a.m., Kever Avot at the Raleigh Hebrew Cemetery. Sunday night for 48 hours begins the Open the Gates annual campaign. We are grateful for Jay Schwartz's powerful words just yesterday here. This is our opportunity to do a wonderful mitzvah. We appreciate so much your support, and the goal here is 100% participation. We obviously encourage you to be as generous as you possibly can, but the goal is that each person gives a Asher Yidvenu Libo from their heart for the Open the Gates campaign. Looking ahead to Kol Nidrei, remember your canned food donations going to Jewish Family Services or to give tzedakah in honor of Kol Nidrei to Jewish Family Services. And Grace Kaplan will be our Shoah speaker. We are honored to have her speak about her family's experience surviving, struggling in the Shoah. This upcoming Yom Kippur, look forward to that. And stay tuned for more information about Yom Kippur, about how we'll conduct services and how we'll go forward in masking, etc. Look for your email and more communications to come. We very much appreciate your understanding. With all the complexities, you've been tremendously generous and supportive. We thank you very, very much for your prayers for our family and your understanding of Rahmanis in general.
So we're going to conclude our tefillah this morning with the prayer, Od Yavo Shalom. So we know that, as Rabbi Eric said, we're still waiting for the big peace with the capital P, the capital Shin for Shalom, to embrace the entire world. But I hope and pray that each one of us will be, as we gather those sparks throughout the year, that we will continue to place our peace, P-I-E-C-E, in the greater peace, P-E-A-C-E, that we are yearning for each of us as individuals, for the Jewish people, and indeed for the whole human species, for all living beings on this planet. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. The Shana Tovah, Tekateh v'techatem, and we all be written and sealed in the book of life. Shana Tovah. Shana Tovah.
Kaddish Yameinu Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Kaddish Yameinu Yada